Good morning, welcome to Hecate's Crossing as we continue with the Arthurian Tarot, the Hallowquest. Now the Hallowquest we're doing at the moment is for autumn. Now I know in the Southern Hemisphere we are sort of moving into the winter months, but I'm still continuing exploring the autumn month, the fall. So this is where we are down in the Southern Hemisphere, so I'm continuing with this season. Now it also is with the Grail, but it's also got some major arcana. So the major arcana for this lesson number 34, with the quest for the Grail, autumn, the Hallowquest. So we've got lesson 34, and it's the Wounded King. Wounded King speaks. Whom does the Grail serve? Will no one ask? My blood runs down and no one asks why. I am one with the wounded earth, whose wisdom abides patiently down the interminable aeons. May I be worthy to serve. Now remember, the Wounded King is card number 12, which is the Hanged Man. So everyone experiences time when decisive or practical action are impossible, when all you can do is suffer and wait. This may become a time of learning where patience can bring understanding. The nobility of suffering is attached to the idea of sacrifice. Indeed, there can be a few nobler things than the purposeful sacrifice of one life for the benefit of others. But few want to step up to this voluntarily. During the suspension of time and action that attends this experience, we revolve between pain and understanding, where our wounds become the vulnerable channels for compassion and change. The Wounded King is an aspect of Arthur himself, who, like the Fisher King, is unable to move about his land, dependent on the wise actions of independent questing knights who work without any seeming coordination. Such a delegation of action denotes that restoration is dependent upon a set of circumstances which we cannot bring about of our own volition. The Wounded King knows that despite his rank, he is powerless as the humblest of his subjects. He is wounded, and his healing is in the hands of others. Unlike his subjects, he cannot ask for help. They must ask why he is wounded. This Grail question is the healing key to this experience, for the need must be expressed or recognized before help can come. Okay, the practice. Compare the varying patterns of the path leading through the Grail Maiden, Grail 2 and 3 in Gawain, with the path leading through the Grail Knight, called Grail 4 and 5, and Wounded King. What have you noticed? So you've got to go back and have a look at that. That's due on your own time. Okay, so the questions are: what have you learnt from being vulnerable? Where is healing most needed in your life? What are your most urgent needs at this time? Bring this need as a prayer directed to your spiritual sources of help. Now you could ask the cards these questions. This would be a great 3-card spread. So what have I learned from being vulnerable? So I'm shuffling the deck. What have I learned from being vulnerable? Oops, 1 minute. Okay, sorry about that break-in for a minute. Just had something to do. Right, so let's have a look at the Wounded King, and let's look at the questions that we just got. What have you learnt from being vulnerable? Where is healing most needed in your life? And what are your most urgent needs at this time? Bring this need as a prayer directed to your spiritual source of help. Okay, so you could use this as a 3-card spread. So what have you learnt from being vulnerable? What have I learnt from being vulnerable? And I get Sword Maiden. So to me, that's about that sense of truth. You know, you cannot expect the truth from everyone. Not everyone speaks the truth. I think there's something that you learn in life. Okay. Where is healing most needed in your life? Where is healing most needed? Oh, that was interesting. Where is most needed? And I feel like I get that sense of interesting here. was interesting. Oh, I think that was about last week's I think when you look at so we got the Grail Knight, Grail 4 and Grail 5 flew out together for some reason. So I feel like it's very much about connecting to the last meditation that we did, or the last questions that we asked of ourselves in regard to our journey, our sense of news, things that arrive in our life, that sense of, what are we holding on to, what's that sense, emotionally, what's our focus in regards to, are we missing out on opportunities? I think that's the thing we've got to ask ourselves. So I think there's a lot of healing, what are we holding on to? I think a lot of it, or what are we not seeing the bigger picture? I think that's very important here. What are we focusing on? What's the news that we keep hearing, or what's the noise that we're hearing in our mind? When I'm thinking of Grail Knight in this case, what emotional noise do we have in our life? So the last one is, what's the most urgent needs at this time? So what are my most urgent needs? So that's quite interesting there. So that's what we're looking at, the Wounded King, right? And so we're looking at things from a different perspective. We've got that sense of, what are we sacrificing of ourselves? And it could be to do with the truth, the expectations of truth. And here we have that sense of, not just that expectations of truth, but also, what are we holding on to? So that was interesting. What's our most urgent needs? And we have the White Heart, which is card number 6, which would normally be like the lovers and that sort of stuff, but to me it's about the choices that we make. So our most urgent needs is to make the choices at the moment. Oh, what an interesting way of looking at that. So you could choose 3 cards to see what comes out in regards to the Hanged Man, the Wounded King, whatever you like to call it. So let's have a look at the Wounded King meditation. You sail towards an island. Step out of the ship and follow the path that leads to a grove at its centre. You find the Wounded King. Who cannot rise to greet you, nor can he speak, though his experiences weave visions upon the banners that are hung around the grove. His dog scratches your hand and looks questioningly up at you, so that you must ask certain questions here. Ask each of these in turn and see what is revealed upon the banners. So you want to ask, when you go into this meditation, you close your eyes, you breathe in through your nose and slowly out through your mouth. Breathing very, very slowly. Get yourself into a nice calm state, and then you want to walk. You want to step out of the ship and follow the path that leads to a grove at its centre. Here you find the Wounded King, who cannot rise to greet you, nor can he speak. His experiences weave visions upon the banners that are hung around the grove. His dog scratches your hand and looks questioningly up at you, so that you must ask certain questions here. So when you ask the questions, why are you wounded, O King? What can I do to bring healing? And whom does the Grail serve? And see what answers come through for you. It's an interesting thing. Then you record the answers. The Wounded King wishes to give you a gift which the dog brings to you. So that's interesting here. Why are you wounded, O King? What can I do to bring healing? And whom does the Grail serve? Very, very interesting indeed. Okay, so that's it for today. Don't forget to check the links down below. Check the links on my channel. Like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you know when the next video will be uploaded. Take care and blessed be.